You're saying that Jesus is not Lord, but he's just a good dude. That's disrespectful to him.
He's a great prophet.
Is he your Lord?
He can't be my Lord. He's a man.
Exactly, that's disrespectful to him. The same way you disrespect your mother is you're disrespecting
Gods do not sleep. Gods do not eat. Gods do not die.
Do they have hands?
So who is?
Do they have hands? Do they have leg bones?
Gods do not sleep. Gods do not eat. Gods do not die.
Do they laugh?
They don't.
Do they laugh?
I don't know what they. I don't know if they laugh.
Do they have legs?
It's joy.
Do they have legs?
How am I supposed to know? No.
What about hands?
I don't know.
Do they have hands like I do?
I don't know, bro.
Are they one person like I am?
I don't know, bro.
When you say, do you believe Allah is one?
I believe Allah is one God.
One God?
Yeah, one God.
You believe he's only one person?
It's one God.
What about a person?
The word person is a human.
What? No, it's not.
Of course it is.
Person is just your intellect.
What is the definition of a person?
A person is a conscious agent that has a,
Is that
you
the
know.
definition?
Yeah, it's a philosophical definition.
Pull up the definition.
So you have intellect.
person
you
is a
got
human
intellect.
being.
You have a will.
Yeah.
Right. You're self-aware. That's what personhood is. So when you say you believe Allah is only one person.
It's one God.
What about personhood?
I'm not gonna minimize him to a human.
I didn't say a human. Yeah. Does he have hands?
God is one God.
Does he have hands?
I don't know if he's got hands.
He says he has hands. He said he made Adam with his
Where
hands.
did he say that?
In the Quran, he says he made Adam with both his hands.
Okay. And in the Bible, well, how did he create Adam?
He just he created him. He just created him out of the dust of the earth.
And so Adam was created from dust.
He molded him from the dust of the earth.
Adam was created from dust.
Hold on, just really quick.
Adam was created from dust.
Yeah. So when you say,
that makes him a man, right?
one second, brother, one
Right?
second.
So, but Jesus
one
was created
second.
from what?
No, look what's happening here.
Jesus was
Well,
created from
you was
what?
over there. You asked me a million questions. You can't handle when I ask questions. You can't handle when I ask. All right. So Allah has hands, right? Just like I do. Well, he says that he made Adam with his hands. That's what he says. So are his hands like mine?
No, definitely not.
Okay, but you believe in a God that has hands?
I didn't say that.
Yes, you do.
I
You
didn't
believe
say
in
that.
Allah?
I believe there's one God, Allah, yes.
All right, your Allah has hands. So you believe in a God that has
telling
hands?
me that.
That's your Quran telling you that. You want to see the verse?
When we examine the sacred texts of both the Bible and the Qur'an, we find that the phrase "the hand of God" appears as a powerful theological expression. Yet, despite the outward similarity in wording, the meaning, function, and implications of this phrase are profoundly different between the two traditions. In the Bible, particularly in the Hebrew scriptures, the word used is yad, which literally means hand. However, within the literary tradition of ancient Hebrew, this word is rarely, if ever, understood in a physical or bodily sense when referring to God. Instead, it serves as a symbol of active power, sustaining love, and divine will, working through human history. When Moses speaks of the mighty hand of God that delivered Israel from Egypt, he isn't describing an arm with muscles that struck down the Egyptians. Rather, this is the poetic language of Hebrew prophecy, portraying God's saving power as undeniable and present. Likewise, when the Psalms and Isaiah speak of God's hand, saying things like, "Your hand formed me," or "Your right hand upholds me," they're not describing God's physical body. Instead, they're revealing a deeply relational God, a loving God, one who is actively involved in the lives of his people. This symbolic concept carries into the New Testament, where the Greek word, here, also means hand and maintains its metaphorical function. But here, the theological meaning reaches its climax. In Christian faith, the hand of God is no longer just a linguistic image. It becomes a historical reality in the person of Jesus Christ. The invisible God touched the world, literally, through the incarnation. The hands of Jesus that healed the sick blessed children and were nailed to the cross are the very manifestation of the hand of God that once appeared only in Hebrew poetry and prophetic vision. God no longer reaches metaphorically. He comes in the flesh and touches humanity. In contrast, the Quran also speaks of God's hand, but the context and linguistic form are far more literal. In Surah Sad 38:75, Allah speaks to Iblis and says, "What prevented you from prostrating to the one I created with my two hands? Bi yadaya." This is not a general or symbolic expression. It is an explicit dual form in Arabic, meaning two hands. There is no contextual clue in the verse that this is meant metaphorically. In fact, classical Islamic commentaries, especially from figures like Ibn Taymiyyah and modern Salafi scholars, affirm this quite literally. Yes, Allah has hands, two hands, but they are not like human hands. They call this itsbat bila takif, affirming the attribute without asking how it exists. And here lies one of the great theological tensions in Islam. On one hand, the Qur'an declares that there is nothing like unto him, Laisa kamithlihi shay. Yet it also speaks of God's hand, face, eyes, feet, and even his shin, all in grammatically literal forms. This leaves interpreters with a difficult choice: either take these verses literally, risking anthropomorphism, or interpret them metaphorically, which literalist scholars strongly oppose. Traditions like the Mu'tazila or the Ash'ariya opted for metaphorical interpretation, claiming that these descriptions are symbolic of God's power or favor. But their approach has been widely contested by more literalist schools, which insist on taking the Quranic wording at face value, without further explanation.
He said that he created Adam.
With both of his hands.
So if he created Adam,
With both of his
he's a
hands.
human.
With both of his hands.
In the Bible, they refer to Adam as the son of God
With
as well.
both of his hands.
It's not about
It's not about
hand.
the, it's not about the Bible.
So if Jesus, if
Say that
Adam
again?
was created, Jesus was created.
It doesn't mean that he's saying that hand. It's not a physical hand.
Okay.
It means
Has Jesus ever created
if I
anything?
say something is in my hand, it means it's in my custody.
In your authority and stuff. What do you think about his shin?
Show me that.
What do you think about when Allah says he has a shin?
He has a
Hold on,
hand.
hold on. Huh? Yeah, it says that when he shows his shin, then they will prostrate, but they won't be able to.
Where does that at?
In the Quran.
Show it to me.
Okay.
Wait, I showed you hadith.
No.
Now you want to see the Quran. Are you going to believe?
Yeah, I'm talking to this guy now.
Dude, I showed you hadith. You didn't believe. Now you're going to show you the Quran. Are you still not going to believe?
He's not gonna believe this. He don't like the Quran, man.
You know, we are not here to show each other down.
Yeah.
So we all should say the truth.
Yes, of course.
Because we are not same.
here for a purpose.
We are human beings.
He's here for
and we-
views on debates.
Yeah, I'm here to expose Islam. Show you how weak it
We have
is.
to go on
You
the
should be
same
spreading
line.
love.
Jesus is
This
the
is
truth.
love.
The Quran
The most
is
loving thing.
okay.
The most loving thing I can do is tell you that you're wrong, bro. Because you're on your way to hell without Christ. That's the best thing I can do. It wouldn't be loving if I just let you scoot around thinking that Muhammad's a true prophet.
If you truly believed your Bible and Jesus, yeah, you would tell me how good Jesus is instead of trying to tell
I
me how
am. I'm telling you how good Jesus is. Jesus is so good that he sent me to tell you that Muhammad's a false prophet. That's how good he is. That's it.
No, he didn't. Jesus himself said that there will be another messenger after me.
Where? Where did he say that? Where did he say that?
Are you looking for it still?
Yeah, where did he say that?
Wait, let's keep this about. Where in the Quran does it say Jesus will? God will show this shit?
I'm about to show you. And now I want you to show me that Jesus said that Muhammad's coming after him.
Yeah, the whole Quran is about Muhammad.
It's about Allah, man.
Quran, you are
Allah, man.
The Quran, you are showing that this is
Well, I show you this. Can you get that?
Which Quran?
When I show you this, can you get the verse I'm asking for?
Why have
I'm pulling it up right now. I'm saying, like,
You have a house Quran? You have a
cameras on?
no, I want you to look up. I want you to look up where Jesus says that a messenger comes after him. Where did Jesus say that?
No, there isn't. Nah, bro. You got a house Quran. You got the Holy Spirit.
No, it's in the Bible. Yes,
You ready?
In the Bible.
This is chapter 68, verse 42. It says, "Beware of the day the shin of Allah will be bared," means shown, "and the wicked will be asked to bow down, but they will not be able to do so."
Allah has a shit.
1 second. And we got my Quran just to read it.
You gonna,
We need the Quran.
yeah, somebody get the double guys to get the Quran.
No, it's not this.
No way.
Read it in Arabic.
I can
Wait.
open the Quran right now.
Okay.
Tell me the surah. I
Okay.
can open it right
Okay.
now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Look.
You
All
must
right.
guide the people.
Okay.
that's the good thing
So,
about it.
wait, hold on.
It's not this.
Hold on.
That's what Muhammad did.
Wait,
Yeah,
got it to
it's
people.
not
wait,
the
brother.
Quran.
Wait, brother. Hold on. Is this the Quran?
Yeah, no. Wait, which one?
Is this the Quran?
I can show you the same thing.
Okay, do it. Okay, do it. Can you pull it up? Does it say shin? It does? Does it say shin? Brother, does it say shin? Yep. Oh.
It's a different version of the
Hey, does it say shin?
Looks like shit to
Does
me.
it say shin? Does it say shin? Oh! Well. Now, hold on, though. It depends, though, because they like to play games in these Qurans.
Yeah, they do.
They like to play games.
Arabia and all the Muslim world. And we prove that to you in Speaker's Corner.
That's right.
And you always say like, oh, the Quran is one.
No, but it's in the different Quran.
Okay, here's the Quran now. Where's the brother?
It's not in Arabic. They didn't say it's not in that.
So here it is. Here's the Quran. Verse 42.
the Quranic table.
Don't run, bro. Don't run, bro.
Oh, where'd he go? Where'd you go?
And this is where the crisis emerges. On one hand, Muslims firmly insist that Allah does not resemble His creation in any way. In fact, they accuse anyone who attributes human-like qualities to God of committing shirk, the unforgivable sin of associating partners with Him. Yet on the other hand, they affirm that Allah has hands, a face, eyes, and even a shin that will be revealed on the Day of Judgment, as stated in Surah Al-Qalam 68:42. This is not just a linguistic issue. It is a collision between two opposing realities, a literal text that describes Allah with bodily features, and a theological claim that He is completely unlike anything in creation. When Muslims argue that Jesus cannot be God because He was born, because He ate, slept, and died, they are not actually addressing the Christian concept of divinity. Instead, they are projecting their own philosophical framework onto Christian theology. But the Christian faith has never taught that God simply became a man in a way that diminished His deity. Rather, in the incarnation, the eternal Word became flesh without ceasing to be God. Incarnation is not a downgrade. It is the highest expression of divine love. The invisible God entered the visible world not because He needed humanity, but because humanity needed salvation. And in Jesus, God bridges the gap between the divine and the human. So when the question is asked, if Jesus can't be God because He had a body, then what about the Allah of the Qur'an, who is described as having hands and even a shin? That's when the hesitation begins. Some respond by saying, they're hands, but hands that befit His majesty. Others admit, we don't know what they are. We just believe it's true. But that's not an answer. That's an escape hatch. It's not explanation. It's evasion. And when the question is pressed further, some deflect, change the topic, or simply walk away from the discussion. The rejection of Jesus is not rooted in a lack of divine evidence, but in a double standard, one that Muslims refuse to apply to their own text. They reject Jesus because He was hungry, yet they worship a deity described as having two hands. They reject the cross because of suffering, yet they cannot explain why the Qur'an describes Allah as having a face and revealing His shin. The incarnation is not anthropomorphism, it's the mission of love. God did not become a creature. He took on human nature, fully, without ever surrendering His divinity, so that we, who are mortal, could be united with the Eternal One. That's not a weakness, it's the glory of the gospel. A God who doesn't stay distant or abstract, but who draws near, who touches, and who saves. Meanwhile, the depiction of Allah in the Qur'an, with literal bodily terms that no one can clearly interpret, only opens the door to confusion and contradiction.